The Indonesian entertainment world was shaken to its core by the heartbreaking news that rippled across social media and through communities early in the morning. Actor Gary Iskak had passed away at just 52 years old. It was the kind of news that made people pause, made colleagues fall silent, and made fans across the country feel an unexpected heaviness in their chests. Gary wasn't just a familiar face on the screen. He was a figure woven into the cultural memory of millions. A presence that had accompanied viewers through romance films, emotional dramas, and some of the most beloved Indonesian productions of the early 2000s. And now, suddenly, that presence was gone. Reports stated that Gary died on a quiet Saturday morning at Suyoto Hospital, where he had been rushed following a tragic road accident. The details of the accident were not immediately clear. And in fact, for several hours, confusion and disbelief spread online as fans tried to make sense of what had happened. But as confirmations poured in from his family members and close friends, denial gave way to sorrow. For many, it felt surreal. How could someone who had seemed so full of life, who had battled illness in the past and bounced back with the optimism and resilience of a fighter, be taken so suddenly and so brutally? His family released a deeply emotional message that circulated widely. Inalila wa inalirojian has passed away to Romatullah Muhammad Gary Iskak bin Irwin. Santoso Iskak. Please forgive all the mistakes and errors of the deceased. It was simple, heartfelt, and full of the humility that Gary himself was known for. Those who had worked with him often described him as grounded, gentle, and sincere. Man whose warmth didn't dim even when the camera stopped rolling. And in that moment, as the message echoed across Indonesia, thousands responded with prayers, condolences, and memories of how Gary's performances had touched their lives. Among the first to publicly acknowledge the loss was Ade Gigo, one of the members of the comedy group Teamlo, and a close friend of Gary. Ade shared the news not with the loudness of public announcement, but with the tone of someone who had lost a brother. Someone grappling with the weight of saying goodbye to a person who had stood beside him through countless ups and downs. Ade confirmed that Gary's death was related to a high-powered motorcycle accident, a detail that only deepened the sense of shock. Yet he refrained from sharing more. Perhaps out of respect for the family, or maybe because speaking about it too directly would make the truth even more painful. His message was a mixture of grief, disbelief, and love, a reminder that behind the public figure was a man who had forged real, lasting bonds. Gary Iskak's name had been known for decades, but his journey in the entertainment world was not one marked by privilege or instant fame. Born into a modest family, Gary grew up like many Indonesian children, surrounded by community, shaped by hardship, and pushed forward by the desire to create something meaningful in his life. His dreams of acting didn't begin with grand ambitions of stardom, but with a curiosity and passion for storytelling. Those who knew him from his early years often spoke of his ability to observe people deeply, quietly absorbing the human nuances that he would later translate so naturally into his performances. His breakthrough came with films that are now considered part of Indonesia's cinematic legacy. When he appeared in Ada Apa Dengan Cinta, a film that defined an entire generation, he instantly carved a space for himself in the hearts of viewers. It wasn't just his looks or charisma, it was the authenticity he brought to each role. He didn't act, he embodied emotion. Whether he was portraying longing, heartbreak, rebellion, or vulnerability, he made audiences feel something real, something that lingered long after the movie ended. His later films, including Ungu Violet, Mira Itu Cinta, and Pokong 3, showcased his range even further. He could move from romantic drama to psychological tension, from complex emotional roles to characters grappling with fear and fate. Each project he took on revealed another layer of his craft, and as the years went by, he built not just a career, but a legacy of unforgettable performances. To many, Gary was part of the golden era of Indonesian film era, where emotions ran deep, where stories felt intimate, and where actors like him helped shape the identity of modern Indonesian cinema. But Gary's life was never just about the spotlight. Off-screen, he was a husband, a father, a friend, and a man who, like everyone else, faced struggles, made mistakes, sought redemption, and cherished the people he loved. He had publicly dealt with health issues in the past, including a frightening period when he was hospitalized and fighting for his life. Yet each time he emerged stronger, with a renewed appreciation for the fragility of life. Fans admired him for this resilience. He spoke openly about gratitude, faith, and the importance of second chances. He wasn't afraid to acknowledge his imperfections, and that honesty only drew people closer to him. His death, therefore, felt like the loss of someone who had lived through storms and sunshine alike. Man who had grown, who had fought, who had learned, and who had loved deeply. It wasn't just the entertainment world that mourned. It was the nation. People shared clips of his interviews, scenes from his movies, behind-the-scenes stories, and heartfelt tributes. Some recalled moments when they had met him, how he had smiled warmly, how he had taken time to speak, how he had treated others with respect. Others simply expressed the heaviness of losing someone who had been part of their youth, their memories, their emotional landscape. In moments like this, grief becomes communal. And Indonesia, with all its diversity, all its complexities, all its interconnected hearts, mourned Gary Iskak together. The suddenness of his passing served as a stark reminder of how unpredictable life can be, how one morning can look like any other until the world shifts beneath your feet. People reflected on the fragility of existence, on the importance of kindness, on the need to appreciate loved ones while there is still time. As for Gary's family, their grief is something deeper than words can express. His wife, children, and relatives have lost not just a public figure, but a man whose presence filled their daily lives, a voice that called them home, a laughter that warmed their evenings, a protector and a companion. Their silence in these early hours is understandably a heartbroken attempt to process something so sudden, so devastating. And the public's prayers and sympathy, poured out with sincerity, stand as a blanket of comfort for a family navigating the darkest moment of their lives in the coming days. Indonesia will continue to remember Gary Iskak. Tributes will emerge, stories will be shared, and his films will be rewatched with a new tenderness, a deeper appreciation. His work will outlive him, as all meaningful art does. And in the quiet corners of homes across the country, someone will watch a scene from one of his movies and feel, even for a moment, the warmth and humanity he brought into the world. Gary's journey has come to an end, but the emotional imprint he left through his films, his voice, his struggles, his sincerity will remain. He leaves behind lessons about resilience, about humility, about embracing life even when it is hard. And he leaves behind a reminder that every moment, every choice, every connection matters. May Gary Iskak rest in peace. May his family find strength. And may Indonesia continue to remember him, not with sorrow alone, but with gratitude for all the beauty he brought into its stories, its screens, and its collective heart.